Three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Miami Dolphins Syndicate. Your host, Jacob Kelly, your co-host, Donovan Quick, and we finally have our first ever guest here on the live, our boy Mannon, who is unfortunately our resident Chargers fan, hence why he's on the show today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Appreciate you coming on. It's
Yeah,
gonna be fun. Not quite sure
gonna
how
be
this is
fun.
gonna go. Mannon, I doubt any of y'all have watched, but like, was that a year or two ago? You came on my other channel, JK Productions. We talked to Miami Heat. That's where we actually line up in the teams we like. But when it comes to football,
Yeah,
we have this little division now that is going to be really nice for this week one matchup.
I can't wait, man.
So we're just
yeah. I
gonna
actually did.
go ahead.
My, I was gonna say I actually did have a pretty good callback during this last playoff run for the Heat when we ran that episode. That was a pretty good full circle moment.
That was, and well, speaking of playoffs, the Chargers are coming. The Chargers and Dolphins are coming off of seasons where they both saw their seasons end somewhat ceremoniously. Chargers just a little bit more than the Dolphins in terms of that ceremonious. Dolphins obviously losing with their third string quarterback, only by a handful of points on a fourth down, which may have been a first down in the first place. Regardless, but the Chargers had the courtesy to have
Wait,
the biggest
before
27 nothing loss in playoff history.
let's go. Can we? That's your one and only warning, by the way. Before we get to that, if any more mentions of 27-0, I'm reporting this account. I'm reporting this Discord, and you guys will get banned. I promise you.
That's outrageous. Look,
That's some outrageous stuff, guys.
we have to address it. Like, we can't pretend like it didn't happen. It did
It
happen.
happened.
Oh, trust me. I was in person. I went to Jag Stadium in a full Chargers fit. I was there, and I was telling Jags fans at halftime not to go home because I know my Chargers. So I was there. Trust me.
Yeah,
I blocked
Hey,
them.
what good is it to have a defensive head coach if you can't keep a 27-point lead?
Hey, listen, he did well enough to clamp you guys up on prime time. So
ooh.
I mean, will he be good enough to do it again?
quite possibly yes.
We will see. We will see. We still got some time before the game on Sunday. We still have some players for the Dolphins that we're not even sure if they're going to play or not. But one thing can be certain amongst the three of us. Unfortunately, we have not had the most fun time rooting for our teams in our years. I mean, the Chargers got to see an AFC Championship appearance at the very least, which compared to us Dolphins fans, we have literally never seen, or I have literally never seen the Dolphins win a playoff game. So at the very least, at least you got to experience getting to the point of an AFC Championship game and also going and getting to see your team play live in a playoff game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was probably one of the top experiences I've had in the last year. But again, I did have a lot of excruciating defeats as a sports fan
Oh,
in the last few years. Went to FAU as undergrad, and that didn't go well. I mean, great run, but we can stay on topic here with football. So I don't wanna relive those.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
moments that because we do like I say like the Heat like FAU, so there's some similarities in just pretty much especially in the last calendar year. There's been a lot of harsh defeats, a lot of highs, but those highs immediately met with lows
Oh yeah, for
Immediately.
sure.
immediately. But try and stay on topic, which is something that I explained to you before. We never stay on topic. Everybody who watches, y'all know we do not stay on topic whatsoever. But we do have Week 1 NFL football finally at hand. The preseason was beautiful while it lasted, but it's preseason. Training camp was fun to go to live in person, but we finally have NFL football starting at the time of recording this actually tomorrow with the Chiefs and Lions. But then 4:30. We're going to be probably watching it together. Maybe we'll see how that goes. Joe can get us a
Yeah.
spot at Hooters, I guess. We will be watching that game together. Watching I won't say watching the Heat, watching the Dolphins, watching the Chargers. And man, I'm just going to give you the floor first, just to give us just your thoughts on the Chargers entering the 2023-2024 season. Before we even get to like the specific game, how confident are you with your football team?
I'm excited, man. I've been looking forward to this year, especially after the way the last year ended. Um, I mean, you have that long break in football. Football's only about 4.5 months if you're lucky. So I mean, I've just been waiting all off season to get back to this point. We made some nice key off season additions, specifically Eric Kendricks, which we'll get into later. But other than that, I'm pretty excited. I do think we will improve on last year, and I mean, since the Staley era has started, we've improved every single year relatively. In the win column and on the field. Defense, I would like to see a little bit more, but I'm excited just in general. How you guys feeling about the Dolphins?
Bro, I'm feeling personally ecstatic about this year. Kind of like what you said, just improving every year. Just I mean, given between we went what 10 we had 10 wins, then we went back to back 9-win seasons, but we made the playoffs. Our offense significantly improved last year, and now it's year 2 of an offense. First time that Tua is going to be in the same offense for the first time since I think high school. I think he had different offensive coordinators each year at Alabama. So it's going to be exciting to watch. And I believe our offensive line potentially got a little bit better this year with Isaiah Wynn addition.
Ain't no way that's what we're bringing up as like a massive addition.
I didn't say massive.
Not massive, but ain't no way that's not a difference maker.
Compared to Liam Eichenberg, like, let's be honest here. Liam Eichenberg was absolute garbage unless Teron Armstead was on his left side, which who knows if he's even going to be there week 1. So, yeah. With that, I mean, plus the addition of Vic Fangio, Jalen Ramsey on the defense. We're finally a little bit healthy on defense for the first time since like week 1 of last year, even though both of these years we're starting with one of our starting corners is going to be out for a significant amount of time, with Jalen Ramsey out until at least November, probably early December. But regardless of that, Kader Kohu showing up last year, getting that CB2 role, Cam Smith showing out in camp, even Eli Apple, like, is what it is. But I'm excited to see, especially like our linebacker core, a lot better. But just overall, play caller. You know, it's going to be the Vic Fangio, much better play caller than Josh Boyer ever was. And then this is also the second year that Mike McDaniel is going to be calling plays. Remember, before he came to Miami, he never called plays.
Yeah, the injury is definitely something that stands out because both Dolphins and Chargers mostly saw on the offensive side of things, and even it did creep over the defensive side. For the Dolphins last year, it was very much the defensive side of the ball that had a lot of injuries. Now, we had the most notable injury on offense being Tua, of course, but you're just talking about like the amount of hits we took at the secondary position. I mean, we got to see it against the Chargers there towards the end of the season, where how do you line up against the other talented guys that they have on the fields? Generally, I feel pretty good, and I also kind of feel like we are in a position, we as in the Dolphins, like I think that we're adequately ranked amongst the NFL. If you look at most power rankings, like as everybody loves putting out their own power rankings list, if you look, they have us somewhere between 6 to 9. Like that is, I think, the sweet spot of where the Dolphins deserve to be. And I think the Chargers are right there with them. I think you could put like the Dolphins 6, 7, 8, 9. I think the Chargers could fall in any of those spots as well. And that's what makes it even more of a fun matchup for week 1. And then let's get into the two teams. And the biggest question, not even question, but the biggest thing that anybody's ever going to look at for these two teams, for as long as their quarterbacks are their quarterbacks, is Justin Herbert versus Tua. Donovan and I have had our own conversations about Justin Herbert and Tua, even though he finds a way. Donovan will find a way to argue every single reason why Tua might be better than Justin Herbert, and then he still's like, but actually Herbert's better. He'll argue, like he typically does, and again, if you guys have watched us on a regular basis, you can attest to this. He will argue to the such niche and 10th degree on this one specific thing, and then come back and say, but actually, no, this is still right. No, Justin Herbert is clearly the better quarterback of the two going into this. I've come a long ways on thinking of how I thought of Tua. I used to think the world of him. Then I'm like, okay, let's get rid of him. Now I'm like, I think I'm in an adequate range of, as long as he stays healthy, as long as he can run the offense, I feel very comfortable with him. Whereas with Justin Herbert, he has the ability to go above and beyond and play above the offense, especially how that offense looked terrible. Like, looked absolutely terrible last year, man. I'm sure that's something that you can attest to. Like, how bad the offense looked last year. So how excited are you to see Justin Herbert with, like, how Donovan was talking about play calling? How are you feeling about getting to see him with actually what we think to be a good play caller and good offensive coordinator?
Oh man, I can't, I guess, put into like words really how excited I am in terms of like actually seeing the ball go further than 15 yards down the field. Because like a lot of people were getting on Herbert about the dink and dunks and stuff like that, but that's all he had available to him. That's what the play call was. There's a lot of crossing routes and just like short crossers or like quick slants, and like again, like you said, we only had Keenan and Mike for a total of less than 4 games together last season, and then we didn't even have Mike in the wild card. So it's like
Yeah.
it was just a tough watch all year. We somehow crawled into the playoffs, but I'm excited to see Kellen Moore finally get a chance to work with Justin Herbert. Like I feel like those two will mesh well together. I see Herbert doing more audibles on the line. He has more free range of motion this year, in my opinion. And I mean, they paid him for a reason, so they clearly want to give him the keys to the offense. And I think Kellen Moore will definitely help him get to that next level, that top tier. So
Yeah, and with that addition, like I'm not big on Dak. I think Dak is a bottom half quarterback in the NFL. And he made a lot of people think that he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. So imagine actually getting a top 5 quarterback in the league in his hands with, the weapons around him. Like you said, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen played less than 4 games combined. They just added Quentin Johnston from TCU into that room. You know, that's probably why they want a guy that can run routes, catch the ball. He's kind of like a mixture of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So he can kind of play either role. If either one goes down, he can be a solid number 3 receiver, possibly take over as a number 1 receiver in a couple of years because, those guys aren't that young.
question: you say Dak was a bottom? What is it? What did you say? Bottom
Bottom
what?
half.
Yeah, he. I'm not a Dak fan, but he really likes to dig in on Dak way too much. Like, do you still think that Tannehill's better than Dak?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
No, I can't co-sign that.
I don't think Ryan Tannehill can co-sign that.
I like personally, like I'm the biggest Cowboy hater because of my boy Zoe. You guys met Zoe.
Yeah.
Like, shout out Zoe. But man, I can't co-sign that. He's not bottom half. He's probably like for me. He's probably Fringe top 10. Honestly, like Fringe
is.
like 10 to 12, bro.
He's somewhere in the mix of 14 to 18 to me.
I cannot name 15 quarterbacks that are better than Dak Prescott today.
Sorry to get off topic so early, but can we do like a quarterback rankings thing as well?
You know what? I was actually planning on doing that, but I didn't tell you guys about it because I wanted it to be ad libs. And I guess since we're still on the topic of Herbert, I guess that's how we can segue into it a little bit. So we did see limitations in Herbert's game last year, and most of which was not his fault. Like, we definitely know
not.
Like the weapons he had at his disposal were just falling apart. Austin Eckler was playing pretty much every single position on the offense behind center. Ezekiel Elliott decided to do that for him. But there is some still question marks when it comes to Justin Herbert, mostly in like the leadership. Like, he's not the most vocal guy. He doesn't really put himself out there. When you just I'll put this on Mandan, and then Donovan, I do want to hear your thoughts on Herbert. Like I said, this guy does still find a way to somehow say Tua is better than Herbert. So I want to get both these guys' opinion on that. Man, where do you have Herbert falling in the rankings? Like, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but where do you find him slotting in when you look at your top lists?
So me personally, and obviously there's bias, but I would say he's just at the cusp of that top 5. Like, he is probably number 5. Me. But you can make an argument he's anywhere from 4 to like 9. Like you can make that type of argument where you can put him in any one of those because you can say, oh, someone like Justin Fields who doesn't have a greatest arm, but the way he just runs, he's just dual threat. Or Lamar. You can even throw. I mean, the debates with Tua and stuff like that. I'm not here to slander Tua. I'm a fan of Tua. I just personally don't think he's better than Justin Herbert. But I mean, those two are going to be tied together forever. But I mean,
Yeah.
those quarterbacks, everything is subjective. So it's like, for me personally, he's cusp. He's number 5. But again, like you have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, like all those guys are great. It's really tough, especially in the AFC. Like you have so many good quarterbacks.
And Donovan, before you go, don't give me an explanation. Where is Tua? What number? Don't give an explanation. I'll give me a number and then give me your explanation on Herbert. I want you to say this first.
I thought you were going to talk to me about Herbert. I didn't even think about.
I will. No. Just give me a number for Tua, or even a range for Tua, and then go into Herbert.
I'm gonna give you a range. I think Tua is somewhere between 7 and 11. So I think he's somewhere around there. I just because I haven't thought of the quarterbacks that are ahead of him. Besides, I mean, I think obviously Herbert is ahead of him. So the main factor in the Dolphins choosing Tua over Herbert was Herbert's lack of leadership and him expressing, "Hey, yeah, I'm not a rah leader type of guy. I'm going to go in and do my job." That's when he was first coming out of college. We've seen him kind of develop a little bit more each year into that aspect. And like Jacob said, like a lot of the things that are questionable about him aren't necessarily his fault. It was just Lombardi handcuffing him and Staley handcuffing him. We saw what happened when Flores handcuffed Tua versus when McDaniel let him, do his thing. So imagine Herbert, who was already a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, letting the handcuffs off, letting him do his thing. So I think he has the potential to pass. Obviously Jalen Hurts jumped him. I think he has the potential to pass Jalen Hurts to become even a top 4 quarterback, maybe top 3 if he could pass the likes of Josh Allen. So
I think actually one of the biggest contributors why the Dolphins passed on Herbert, it has really, I don't even think it has anything necessarily to do with him. I think it has a lot to do with Ryan Tannehill, because if you remember coming out of the draft, like there was, everyone likes to talk about comparisons when it comes to quarterbacks, and somebody whose name was floating around compared to Justin Herbert was Ryan Tannehill. And the Dolphins just had to sit through 7 seasons of watching mediocre quarterback play, one playoff appearance that he didn't even get to play in. They got to watch him for years and hope he's the guy. And then you finally decide to move off of him. You tank for Tua. And when you get to the point that you're going to take Tua, you're going to take a guy who is comparable to the guy who got 1 playoff appearance in 7 years and, again, didn't even get to play in it. I think that ended up being a massive thing to deter the Dolphins from taking it. But I agree, there's definitely a little bit of something to question when it comes to his leadership ability. It's something that everybody has something a little bit differently. Like we look at Nikola Jokic of the Nuggets, just won the championship, one of the biggest, best players in the league. He isn't a rah-rah guy either. He is very quiet. He likes what he likes, and so it's okay. You can do that. But especially with football, sometimes you do need that type of guy. But with Herbert, you're talking about a guy where if you could just put together nearly a perfect quarterback, I mean, everything you really want. You got the height, you got the weight, you got the durability, broken rib is still out there, be able to go out there and play. The arm strength, mobility, really has all these boxes that he can check. I have a hard time arguing him anywhere outside the top 6. I mean, obviously you got Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, probably Jalen Hurts after last year, and then he's in a group of guys with Lamar Jackson, with Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers. There's a bunch of guys right there.
Lawrence right now, but yeah,
I have him above Trevor Lawrence as things stand today too. I'm sorry, man, and I think at the end of the year, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be above him. If I just had to look projecting out, is that fair to say?
What?
You're asking me or Don?
Yeah,
you.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna say no, but I mean, I'm biased, so I can't really. It's definitely fair to say.
Remove as much bias as you possibly can.
People will tell you I'm not objective when it comes to Justin Herbert, but I will say
It's okay. He
definitely.
has not been objective with Tua in Tua's entire career.
That's just
I
not
will
true.
say it's definitely fair to say they're definitely closer than people think if they don't have them swapped or like right next to each other in the rankings. But I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough. Like just you just named like out of the 7 quarterbacks you named, 6 of them are in the AFC. Like it's just like the talent gap from conference to conference is just insane. Like that's why every year, and the pressure is on. Like for these young quarterbacks, they're in going into year 4, and it's like you expect winning now. Fans expect winning now, and it's just like a lot of players develop on a different timeline. And
Mhm.
like for Tua came into the league and he was just expected to produce. He had those, like Donovan said, he had those 2 rough years. People were ready to get rid of him. And I was just like, bro, you gotta give this guy
I was.
time. Even Jacob was ready to get rid of him. You got to give these guys time. Uh, and it's just everyone develops on a different timeline. So you gotta give these guys time. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think, in my rankings I have T Law like just ahead of Tua, just because of that playoff win,
That
really.
it's
Hey.
taken you
But
months to get to that point. I'm so happy for you. I'm so
be
proud of you.
quiet, be quiet.
So
So
proud of you.
I have him just above Tua, and I mean like it's like splitting hairs for me because
Mm.
at the begin we just got to see both of these guys let the handcuffs off last year, and Tua, when he was on the field, produced without a concussion. But that 27 point, sorry, but that comeback that he had in the playoffs, and even
Where's the report? Where's the report button?
That's number 2.
but I'm not even saying that against the Chargers. I'm just saying that for T Law, like to have that
Yeah.
in his bag, that he in his first ever playoff game did that, you know, and came back. And Jacob will tell you, I was asleep and I fell asleep at halftime, and then I woke up
He
to
was
the
literally
game-winning
asleep
field goal.
right there on the
Damn.
edge of my bed. I kicked him awake to see it.
Listen, bro, it was freezing cold, and fans were drunk as hell. By the way, don't go to an away game. Like if you're a fan of the away team, do not go to Jacksonville. They are, I listen. If any Jacksonville fans are listening, I'm sorry, but your fans are horrible, especially when it comes. Um, so these fans are like leaving at halftime. They're talking about going home and getting drunk because they're down 27-7 at halftime. I'm like, listen, I've been a Chargers fan since 2005, and I know how the Chargers charger. They literally charger every single game. And this game will end in a 1 possession game. And sure enough, they run off 31 straight points. And it's just like, I was telling people not to leave the game, bro. I just found that crazy. This is a playoff game. I don't know when the last time they made the playoffs was, probably like 2019, the Jaguars. And then
I
people were
think it's
leaving
when
the
they made
game.
that run.
And I'm just like, bro, this is crazy. Like, this is a playoff game. You never leave early, especially when there's half the game left. I just found it crazy, bro. And then after, it
Yeah.
was just, I thought if we would have won that game, though, I probably wouldn't have made it out the stadium.
Uh,
That's how,
those
like, bro,
playoff atmospheres are crazy, especially
Uh,
when you're on the.
it was one,
Go ahead.
it was, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
You're
it was
good.
like a once in a lifetime type of experience. Obviously, I would go to another game if given the opportunity, but it was a great experience overall. Not the result I wanted, but definitely would recommend a playoff game.
I do want to shift away so you don't have to keep bearing into the loss that you had to deal with firsthand. But a lot of eyes have been on the Chargers offense this year, and coming from last year, Austin Eckler had just a massive, at the very least, fantasy season. And like I said, at times he was doing literally everything for your offense. So
Last 2
there's
years.
definitely last 2 years. There's definitely a lot to wonder about when it comes to what his role will be in the offense this year. He was somebody who was used in every sort of way last year, minus again like center basically. But now that the offense is healthy, you have all your allotment receivers as of today. What do you expect Austin Eckler's role to be within the offense?
So I do believe he's still going to be useful and effective, but I do think, not because of the contract dispute and everything, but I do believe that they're going to try to, because he's getting up there in age, they're gonna try to start doing like almost like a running back by committee type of thing. He's definitely gonna be clear cut RB1. It's not a question, but there is going to be an emphasis on running the ball. And to be honest, he's not our best runner. Like he's just not. I would say like pure runner wise, you would look at guys like Joshua Kelly. Uh, we got this new guy Elijah Dotson. Like we don't have a pure runner in terms of like okay splitting the gap and getting up the field and just actually absolutely burning the defense. But they're gonna do more of a try to like save his legs for later in the season type of thing. Because again, he's about to crack 30, so it's like those running back lifespans in the NFL, they don't last usually that long. So I still expect him to be fully involved in the offense, especially if we do need like a safety blanket in terms of like a quick dump off. But I do think that they're gonna try to protect him as much as they can going forward throughout the year. So
Yeah, speaking of the safety blanket, a reason that he's been producing so much for the offense the last couple of years is really because your receivers haven't been able to stay healthy. We talked a little bit earlier about like the addition of Quentin Johnston helping that receiving core, when they aren't healthy. Do you believe Keenan Allen's, he suffered the hamstring that plagued them all last year. Mike Williams always hurt with something else. Do you think that they have a good possibility of staying healthy with maybe splitting snaps with Quentin Johnston? Hey, you take a few plays off, Quentin will go in there. He's a first round receiver, and we've seen first round receivers produce right away. So,
yeah, I do. That's a great question. I do think that like they're gonna slowly integrate QJ, but I don't think it's gonna be like taking away from these other guys. Like if they're gonna run their offense the way that they want. I haven't seen the first game. I don't know exactly how they're gonna integrate everybody. Me personally, I do believe Joshua Palmer is still wide receiver 3, and they're going to slowly integrate Quentin into the offense, and then maybe they have that competition midseason. But I do believe like we got rid of our whole entire like health staff over the summer,
good.
so we just because I mean we were
No
absolutely
more
great.
Pierce lungs.
Bro.
Oh my
It
God.
was absolutely nonsensical how many injuries we were
Did,
experiencing
didn't he
last
get
year.
like sanctioned by
Something like
uh
that.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I,
But
I I thought I heard something about that.
Probably. He
and
should
I
at the
hate
very
it.
least.
I hate it had to happen that way. But if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have seen the rookie season Herbert had. So it's like it's crazy how stuff works out. But we did get rid of the entire like health staff, revamped the health and conditioning team. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we don't experience what we experienced last year. But I mean, it's the NFL. It's a tough sport on the body and mentally. It's just injuries are gonna happen. But uh,
Yeah.
hope hopefully we can stay healthy as long as we can, and hopefully into like January,
Yeah.
February.
Yeah, and even like receiver wasn't your only issue health wise last year. I mean, we talked, you get JC Jackson back. He tore his ACL after signing as a free agent last year. You get him back. Derwin James is back there. He missed a few games last year. And I mean, your entire secondary was pretty much, it was, no one really talked about it, but it was kind of like the Dolphins, where I feel like you guys were out there with your like fourth and fifth corners.
Yeah, bro, like our C and D team on defense, bro. It was crazy. But we did find some good things towards the end of the season, and I'm hoping that that can translate over. Again, I'm not really worried about the offense, honestly. Like it's the defense that's concerning because the Chargers have put up since Herbert's been there. The Chargers have put up astronomical points. It's just we can't get stops. So it's like you can't win games with just offense. Like you got to get stops. So it's like in the Herbert era, we're giving up as many points as we're scoring. So that's why it's like the knock against Herbert is that he doesn't win. But I mean, me and Donovan got into this whole debate: is QB's a win stat? I I don't want to get into that whole tangent, but um, I do believe like football is a three-phase game. Like you gotta play
Mhm.
all phases well to win a football game. So it's like I'm just hoping it translates. We just gotta
Yeah.
stay healthy. That's really what I'm worried.
Unless you're Jacob, then you think it's only two phases. He doesn't really care about special teams.
Couldn't care less.
Oh no,
Couldn't
special
care
teams
less.
is huge.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Thank
I know it actually matters. Like, I'm being hyperbolic when I say I don't care, but like you were saying that in reference towards like all of the new rules like on special teams. Personally, I don't really care because when the kickoff's going on, I'm still on my phone. When a punt's going away, like I'm probably on my phone checking my fantasy team, checking the other scores. Like whenever a kickoff is happening, 99% of the time, that is the time you use to text your girlfriend back to see anything else other than what's going on the field. It's important. Don't get me wrong. It's important. People make careers out of being special teamers and then blossoming into actual players. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. I just don't care. Like this is entertainment at the end of the day. Like I don't have to care about special teams if I don't want to care about special teams. And don't get me wrong. When there is a punt return for a touchdown, oh, love it. When there's a kickoff return for a touchdown, love it. But like,
this
how
man
often
looks
does
up
that
from his
happen?
phone when he's by like the 40. He's like, everybody's cheering. He goes, huh? Oh.
Yeah, because majority of the time I'm missing literally absolutely nothing, and then it's not even a worry. But speaking of games, I think we should just get right into the actual. Go ahead.
Quick.
You want to speak one more thing?
I wanna say shout out to Steph, Penn City Central. Hi. And my yes I did. And Miami Dolphins content. So what's up, my boy? He said Tua MVP. Tua is coming this year with a big set of cojones.
Okay,
Respect.
fair enough. But as I was saying, I think we just get straight into the preview from here. So we've talked all about this. We've had some very similarities between these two teams in terms of their team history, in terms of the current team. They both made some decent acquisitions that should severely affect either side of the ball. You guys have a new offensive coordinator. We have a new defensive coordinator. Very talented receiving core. Quarterbacks that are going to be comparable forever. I think it truly is a perfect week one matchup between these two teams. Two teams that I don't think really anybody would argue that they are outside the top 10, in like at worst top 12 teams. The both of them should be very entertaining in a game that we've been looking forward to pretty much ever since the schedule was released. So man, I'll give you the floor first. Being a Chargers fan, being off the defeat that you saw last year, what are you most excited to see when the Dolphins and Chargers finally meet up on Sunday?
Most excited to see, I would say probably, because he was electric the last time, I would probably say I want to see how Herbert performs again this game. I know I guess it's tough to be like, oh, he doesn't win games and stuff like that, but I just want to see how this offense is with Kellen Moore. Like, I just want to see baseline. Okay, what do we need to improve? And I know week one, it probably takes a few weeks because you don't play the starters. Well, most of the teams don't play the starters in the preseason, so you got to get full game speed. You got to get into it and stuff like that, and that may take a few weeks for a few teams. So I'm just excited to see Herbert and Kellen Moore, and I want to see him call more audibles at the line. Like, I just want to see him change it up because what I used to see from the past few years, he was getting two plays. One play he would kill, other play he's going with the next play. So it's like I need a little bit more of a play calling tree, if for lack of a better term, like so that he can basically move people around, bro. Like I just want him to get more keys, like more reign of the offense. In my opinion, that's what I'm most looking forward to.
And Donovan, I'm just going to throw the same thing right over to you. I mean, you and I have been talking for months. This is our 15th live stream. We've been talking about all these what ifs, all these things that we would like to see. You know, trying to project how the season's going to go. But week one on the road, had to wait till week 3 for our very first home game. Again, finally meaningful football. As a Dolphins fan, now what are we most excited to see week one?
So it's gonna sound weird. Maybe not to you, but to most people out there. I'm actually excited to see how this defense does. We know the Chargers, obviously an elite quarterback, elite receivers. They just drafted, like we talked about, a first-round receiver to go along with their already 2 elite receivers. This is probably the healthiest these two teams are going to be going against each other throughout this entire year. Last year, both teams were extremely banged up when they played, and So I'm excited to see what we can do healthy against healthy, and defensively. I want to see a pass rush that can get to the quarterback without having to blitz. I want to see a secondary that can actually play zone coverage, because I promise you, every time last year that I saw us drop back into zone, I wanted to murder Josh Boyer. It was just awful. No one knew their assignments. No one knew anything. And our linebackers in coverage were absolutely horrible. Now we have David Long Jr. in the middle, and he's kind of going to be more of the coverage guy over Jerome Baker, who, absolute just he's like the linebacker version of Noah Igbinoghene, where he just doesn't get his head around at all. And like good coverage, but don't get your head around, you're going to give up a catch. It just is what it is.
Situational awareness, positional awareness on the field is lacking with him.
Yes, and then how are we going to do without Ramsey? How deep is this corner room actually going to be? Because we know that the Chargers offense, obviously Austin Eckler can line up anywhere on the field. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, who's going to be on who? I'm going to expect probably Cater's going to be on Keenan Allen and Xavier Howard on Mike Williams. Is Cam Smith going to be in there somewhere? Who is he going to be on? Is it going to be Eli Apple? Like, I want to see how this defense performs against such an elite offense. We're supposed to jump up back into the top 5 defenses, especially with Vic Fangio. I am excited to see what we can do.
And so with that, man, and looking at the Dolphins, we've looked at your team. What do you think the Dolphins provide the most threat at to the Chargers?
Speed. Just point blank period. Like you guys utilized it so well last year that you guys came back from what, 28 in the Baltimore game. What was the score? Going into the fourth,
we had
like
two separate 21-point deficits. It was 21-0, and then it was 28-7. But three scores.
It was just bomb after bomb, and I know our game last year, we did well putting quote unquote like a roof on it. But man, you can't. Tyreek and Waddle, those are two of the fastest guys in the NFL. You can't really. You can scheme as much as you want, but these guys they're just talented athletes. You can't really do much in terms of slowing them down. Now, that's pretty much it. That's just the speed is the main concern for me. Again, I hope this offseason, we get some continual progression from where we were the last 4 weeks of last season. So the last 4 weeks, I think we were a top 10 defense, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully that translates this.
And we somehow got faster. For the Chargers threats, bro, it's crazy. Mike Williams can go up and make any catch. He makes a 50-50 ball, an 80-20 ball. So that's one thing I'm concerned about. Especially since it's probably going to be, he's the biggest receiver on the field besides Quinn Johnson. So he's easily 3 or 4 inches taller than Xavier Howard. So if Herbert's able to put a ball up in the air, a 50-50 ball, I'm sorry, Xavier's not going up to get that. Keenan Allen, the best route runner in the league, if one of the best, if not the best in the league. And so how is Cater Kohu, an undrafted free agent last year? He played really well. Is he going to be able to lock up Keenan Allen? That's probably why we're going to play a lot of zone in this game, but it's the threats all around. And then Austin Eckler out of the backfield. Do we have the speed at linebacker? It's going to be a big question mark. We saw in preseason, now once again, just preseason, but we weren't able to really get to the speedy running backs in preseason. So I'm curious to see that, the threats that the Chargers give off is just, there's so many and it's all around. And then also Herbert, it's not like he doesn't have legs. He can use them, and who knows if he's actually allowed to finally use them in a Kellen Moore offense, kind of like what Dak did. So
it's going. Great point.
It's going to be. No, you're good. You're good. Because it's going to be crazy to kind of see the difference in this offense. I'm actually a little bit more worried about their offense this year than I was last year because they're a lot healthier, a much better offensive coordinator, and your offensive line is actually somewhat intact for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah, and Justin Herbert looked so good last year. Like we got to see that together, Donovan. We got to slash had to see that together, and I was definitely more in my era of okay, is Tua really good enough? Like that's when those thoughts like the previous offseason they had crept in, and then around that point of the season, I'm like, okay, like this is when we finally get to see how good he is because he had that stretch of going 5-0 against bad teams that I don't think a single one of them made the playoffs. And then the Chargers game was like that beginning of run of games where, okay, this is time to prove it. He then lost against the Chargers. He then lost against the 49ers. He lost against the Bills.
First.
Whatever it ended up being. But you know what I'm saying. It was that stretch of time in the year where I'm like, okay, now we get to see who Tua is. And then I got to see Justin Herbert look big, look strong, look mobile. Look, yeah, he's not as accurate, but the ability to make plays on the move, the ability to take a shot and just continue rolling, seeing that durability, seeing just all those traits, really scared me as a Dolphins fan. I was watching that game, and as the game went on, my belief just was sucked more and more out of me. Like the offense, for one reason or another, didn't look good, whereas the Chargers offense, which is being held together by tape, by glue, it works, and that's because Herbert himself is able to be a playmaker. So with that being said, besides the two quarterbacks, I'll ask this to Donovan and then Mannon. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Donovan, can you name me one X factor player, not the quarterbacks, not Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins, not Keenan Allen for the Chargers. Can you name me one X factor that you think will be a big difference maker for the game on Sunday?
Derwin James.
Okay.
So you mentioned don't mention Tyreek Hill, don't mention Keenan Allen. I'm gonna name a defensive player. If Derwin James can keep kind of like what you talked about, the lid on like don't let the Dolphins receivers get past you. If one of the best safeties in the league can keep a cap on it, that's going to be kind of scary. Now the Dolphins we talked about their speed. They have a lot more speed than they did last year, and that's kind of like scary to think about. But they also held us pretty in check last year. And can they do it again? Derwin James actually playing this game. I don't think he played last game. I don't think he played last year.
I do not remember.
I did. I remember thinking that we were going to go in there and win because of it. After that game, by the way, I just want to say this. You had depressed Dolphins fan, which was Jacob, and denial Dolphins fan, which was me.
Oh, that is a very accurate representation of the two of us. I would love if there was anybody from remember our post game live stream where
oh my God.
we were to be fair before we continue we were all a little tipsy, and I took the microphone and so it was me, Adam, and Donovan sitting on a couch, and I took the microphone. The camera's like about 15 feet away. I just took the microphone and I got like 3 feet away from the camera and just went on like a 5-minute rant. And then I started singing the Waddle Waddle song. And he waddled away. Yeah, I was very depressed. I was very down bad.
Yeah.
Donovan, how about on the Dolphins side of things? Who do you think is that one particular guy that can have a massive impact on the game?
I'm going to go ahead and say Kader Kohou. Going back to the defensive side of the ball, because we don't know if Teron Armstead's playing or not, so I would say him. But Kader Kohou is going to be he's probably going to be on Keenan Allen, more than likely, just because of the size difference. He is a small corner. Keenan Allen's a smaller receiver, so that just makes sense to have him on Keenan Allen. So Keenan Allen, like I said, one of the best route runners in the league. If we can keep him in check and, Mike Williams limit his 50-50 balls, I think we're going to be pretty good on defense. And maybe squeak out a win.
Yeah, man, and same question to you. Who are your guys on for both teams? For the Dolphins, you can start with the Chargers, being that's your team. Who are the guys that you think is going to have the biggest impact that isn't one of the star guys?
Well, I actually give you both of my guys in one, and I have it as a matchup. I have Rashawn Slater versus Bradley Chubb.
I like that. I like that.
So, yeah,
Okay.
Man, I missed Rashawn Slater so much last year. It's insane. We, like you said, we were kind of putting our O line was basically just like multiple puzzle pieces put together, kind of taped together with like just tape. Like we were just barely hanging on by a thread. And Bradley was a great addition for you guys last year, in my opinion. And him being reunited with Vic is key in my opinion. He's gonna be more I guess accustomed to the system and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean I can't. It's so understated how much I miss Rashawn Slater last year because he's a top 5 left tackle, and he was since his rookie year. So and left tackle for right-handed quarterbacks, left tackle is the
Blind spot.
biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best position or the most important position on the O line. So that matchup for me is going to be key. I think whoever wins that matchup, probably that team wins the game.
I'm very excited to wait. Well, let me give mine first. But before I say that, I'm very excited to see before I get into that. I'm very interested to see who is the guy on that side of the defensive line. Who is the guy who I'm sure is going to be a rotation and a bunch of different guys. But obviously the main 2 guys are Chubb and Jalen Phillips, and then you can't forget about Emmanuel Ogbah. Just see the different type of guys that they throw at him. So Rashawn Slater was actually my guy too for the Chargers. For me, it's just whoever plays the other safety position. Like that is still up in the air. It could be Deshaun Elliott, it could be Brandon Jones. We're going to see how that ends up being by the time the game starts. It's probably going to be a little bit of both because Brandon Jones coming back from his injury. But the safety position is going to be so necessary just to keep the lid on the offense. We know, like you said, man, earlier, this offense last year was just kind of made fun of on the basis of they didn't know how to throw the ball beyond the first down line. It was just such a bland cookie cutter offense that didn't have a lot of spice, didn't have a lot of motion, didn't have pretty play action plays. Like it just is what it was. Now they're going to be able to probably, assuming they're going to be able to take advantage of Herbert's athleticism, of his ability to extend plays, and his ability to hit balls over the top now that he has a clean offensive line in front of him and a full assortment of wide receivers on the outside. The ability to keep the wide receivers from going over the top and getting behind you. We know Javon Holland's going to be that guy. Whoever else is that other safety, it's going to be a massive opportunity for them to prove themselves over the other one. Whether it be Brandon Jones gets to start, proving that he's healthy and he's capable of playing at a higher level than we saw last year when it comes to driving back in coverage, because got that nickname of Blitz Boy, but we know he's been working on that in the offseason, tried to refine those zone skills. Or Deshaun Elliott, hey, this guy goes down, okay, it's my job until he proves that he's better than me. So you go out there, you give yourself the best foot forward for the remainder of the season. Donovan, with that being said, now you can go into whatever you want to ask.
I was going to ask because it was relevant at the time. You mentioned Bradley Chubb as the Dolphins' X factor. So are you more afraid of Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips on the defensive end?
I wouldn't say it's like a afraid thing because I've seen what Jalen Phillips can do, but it's just that matchup that first of all, I haven't seen Rashawn play in over a year, so it's like I want to just see how he is. A bicep injury, it's not going to affect the way he moves laterally and stuff like that, but I'm just curious to see if he can knock some rust off rather quickly. And I mean, Bradley Chubb is pretty good competition to do that against, so it'll be a good test. Yeah. And but again, Jalen, full respect to Jalen Phillips. It's great find by you guys, honestly. So yeah, I mean, your defense is not one to just brush off. Like it's not a bad defense. So it's there's everyone, and especially when Ramsey comes back, it's like now we have some problems here. So it's like
Go ahead, Donovan.
I was telling to Jake, saying to Jacob, right when the Jalen Ramsey injury happened, I'm like, the only really receiving cores that we have to worry about between now and when Ramsey comes back is the Chargers and the Eagles. Between now and then, like the way our schedule plays out, after that, when Jalen Ramsey comes back, we kind of have a decent, bunch there, but no one really has more than just one great receiver. So Yeah, that was what I had to say.
Yeah, and we've talked about all this talent on both teams, and nobody on either side could deny how good the other team is coming into this. It's what you want to see with football. You want to see one team at their best against another team at their best. Dolphins, obviously, at the very least, will be without Jalen Ramsey, but cross your fingers that Teron Armstead is going to play, and a few other guys that have been on the injury report as of late. With all of this being said, it is now time to make our official predictions. And Manon, as the guest on the show, I will give you the courtesy of going first. What do you think? Who's going to win? What's the score going to be? Let us hear it.
I appreciate that. So I will go with my Chargers winning. It'll be 31-28.
I mean, that'd be a fun game. That
I like the
scoreline's fun.
scoring.
That scoreline's fun. So, before we go into and explaining, Donovan, just go ahead with yours.
I'm gonna say the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and say 35-24.
I'm gonna go with a high score as well because I don't want to be a boring little annoying kid. I'm gonna put it at Donovan. What was that score margin that you said? Is that
I said 35-24. So
11. I'm gonna say it's gonna be within a score. I'm not sure what the betting line is, but I imagine it's very close. Chargers are probably. I'd probably say the Chargers are like 1.5, 2.5 point favorites. I'm not really sure. I think the Dolphins are going to win. Shocker. Dolphin fan saying the Dolphins are going to win. Charger fan saying Chargers are going to win. I'm going to say the Dolphins are going to win 38 to... I'll give it a field goal as well. I'll go 38-35. I say that the Dolphins score on the final drive with a minute left, and Herbert comes out and throws an interception.
That would be the greatest thing ever.
The line is actually Chargers favored by 3.
3? Okay. 1.5, 2.5, 3. Yeah.
That's pretty much like the home field advantage, ain't it?
Yeah. 6 points.
So...
6 points is the flip, so it'd be +3 one way, +3 the other. If it was,
okay,
on the road.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the preview. That was a little bit of long-winded preview since we actually had some Charger fan with us. But now we can get into a little bit of just some general football talk. And gentlemen, I asked you to come prepared with a specific list, and with football starting, I want to do like a little prediction video just for the NFL as a whole, AFC, NFC. Donovan, I'll give you the floor first on this, starting with the AFC. Give me your division winners and your three playoff teams.
All right, so I'm going to go the number 1 overall seed, the Miami Dolphins, at a 13-4 record. Hey, I looked at the Dolphins schedule and I'm like, kind of looked through it and I'm like, I believe we can get to 13 wins.
Keep her going.
All right, at also 13-4, the tiebreaker being the Dolphins winning against them, the Kansas City Chiefs. That being the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the Bengals as the 3 seed, shocker, and the Jaguars as the 4 seed, shocker. You could flip 3 and 4. It's really because Jaguars have a slightly easier schedule. So what? For my 3 wildcard teams, I'm going to have the Bills also at 13-4. But yeah.
Wow.
I looked at their schedules because I looked into this. I looked at their schedules and I'm like, there's a possibility that the Dolphins, Chiefs, and Bills could all be at 13-4, and it could play out in 3 different ways depending on who wins what game.
You want me to get records too and like seeds and all that?
If you want, seeds, yes. Records, if you have it. If you don't matter.
I just happen to look at those few teams. I'm going to say the Ravens make it in the 6th spot.
One more.
And the Chargers make it in tying at 9-8 with the Jets.
Okay. We'll go around NFC after everyone's gone. So Manon, floor is yours as to your winners.
Number one seed, huge shocker, Chiefs. Make it quick and easy. Just rip the Band-Aid off there. I don't really have a record for them, but I would have said before like if we did this podcast like 3 days ago, I probably would have said like 15-2, honestly. But probably like around 13-4. Yeah, that sounds about right. Where Donovan was at. I would have to then go with the Bengals. Being the number 2 seed. I mean, those are just the 2 best quarterbacks in my opinion, and they will lead as long as this is all barring injuries. So,
Of course, but you can't project that.
Yes.
Yeah, I would probably say they end around 12-5 for me. And then I would go with the Bills. Would be your division winner. Unfortunately, sorry guys, sorry to spoil your party.
Yeah, I saw it coming. Don't worry, you're good.
Those Bills at probably like also 12-5, 11-6 in that range. I didn't do the records, but just going off the basis.
Yeah, you're good.
And then Jags definitely win that division. Not really a shocker there. Number 5, I have the Ravens. Number 6, I have the Jets.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
Number 7. No, listen. Before I get into number 7, obviously you know who number 7 is going to be. But number 6, I was torn between picking the Dolphins or the Jets.
I don't know if it's that obvious. I mean, it is obvious, but
it's obvious because of who he is.
Yes.
But I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate on this channel, at least for that. But I was honestly going towards the Dolphins up until, like, I just, again, like, taking into account injuries and everything, it's a new, like, I don't know how the defense is going to look. The offense, second year in the offense. It was tough for me, but I have to go with the Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. I do think last year was an anomaly. I do think he gets back to 2022 form. So I will say that. And then, again, number 7, the Los Angeles Chargers, formerly known as San Diego.
And Jacob's headphones have died there, so we're going to banter on for a little bit. But yeah, I understand picking the Jets if you're not a Dolphins fan. And truthfully, like when I went back and I did the Bills and the Dolphins, the tiebreaker ended up being common games. So I actually had them splitting with the Jets, beating them the first week of the season away, but then losing at home, which is kind of like weird. But I just, Aaron Rodgers is used to those super slow or super snow games. So I don't think that's going to affect him as much when he goes into Buffalo at the end of the year. But yeah,
my headphones are dead right now, just in case you guys can't hear me.
I could understand, yes. But with the Dolphins, I look at the teams that they play and, like, yeah, it's a difficult record or difficult schedule on paper, but it's really not as hard as it seems. Like, our division's hard, but I believe they split with the Jets. I believe they split with the Bills, and I believe that they, everybody sweeps the Patriots pretty much.
Yes.
Jacob, you are back.
Yes, so I am back. My headphones died, and I had a mini heart attack. So starting with the number 1 seed, I mean, I feel like this is not that controversial, but I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are the number 1 seed. I think they are in the easiest division in football to win. I don't think they're going to drop a single divisional game, and I think what we saw from them last year in the playoffs was only the beginning. They went to Kansas City, put up a very decent fight. They did lose, but I think they just got a very easy schedule, and I think they're a very good team. So I got them at number 1. Then the Chiefs. Let's not get too cute. The Chiefs do fall in at number 2. I think the Jags would go like 14-3. I think the Chiefs would go like 13-4, followed by again the Bengals. It's just a pretty easy layup. The Ravens could compete. We'll see how the Steelers end up looking like. Browns, anyways. Well, the 3 seed I think sits right, and then I think that leaves the Dolphins as a number 4 seed. I think the Jets will take a game off us. I think the Bills, I think we split there, but the AFC East, all 4 teams I think are within the top 5 when it comes to the hardest schedules. Like, we have a very difficult schedule. The Bills have a very difficult schedule. The Jets, the Patriots, we all have very difficult schedules. So, like, our divisional games, we can kind of predict how they're going to play out, but there's just so much to battle through. Like, Chargers week 1, we got the Eagles very soon afterwards, we got the Chiefs. Like, there's a lot of good teams in there. So I have the Dolphins winning the division as the 4 seed, followed by the Buffalo Bills. Again, like it's kind of ridiculous to hold them out. The Chargers I have as a 6th seed, and then the Ravens as the 7th seed. So the same exact playoff teams, if I'm not mistaken, just in reverse order. And so that can now lead us into the NFC teams, which I'll go and we'll go in reverse order of what we just went. Starting off number 1, I think that 1 and 2 is this. I don't think anybody's going to have 2 different teams than the first 2 teams. It's just a matter of what order you put them in. I do have the Eagles again going as the number 1 seed. I think that the Cowboys have gotten worse. I don't think the Commanders are going to pose too much of a threat. I think the Giants got a little bit better, but they got a little bit fortunate there at the end of the year to limp into the playoffs. So I think they're going to win their division pretty easily and finish as the number 1 seed, followed by the 49ers. Same thing with the Chiefs. Let's not get too cute. There's just so much talent. Nick Bosa just got his contract extension. They're going to end up being completely fine. And I think Seattle's really the only team that could push them a little bit, but I don't think it's going to end up amounting to much. The number 3 seed. Jeez, I kind of got to remember the divisions. Oh, number 3 seed, Detroit Lions. I'm so excited to see Thursday Night Football. I'm so excited to see how they play against the Chiefs. I think they end up as a 3 seed. I know Donovan and his little Dan Campbell fanboy part of his head is like, yes. But they've put together a very solid team, incredible offense, and if the defense can just hold up and be better than they were last year, they're winning that division. Not easily, because the Vikings are still going to be a decent team. And then the actually probably worst division in football, the NFC South. I didn't write any of these down, by the way. I completely forgot to do this, so that's why I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit. I'm going to go with the Saints, just because somebody has to win it, and you guys know that I like Derek Carr, so somebody has to win it. Going over to the wild card, I have the first wild card being the Seattle Seahawks. There's just been so much positive reports out of Seahawks camp. I think they're going to finish with a better record than definitely I think they're going to finish a better record. Whoever wins the AFC South or NFC South possibly could finish with a higher record than the Lions. But with that even being said, I think they're for sure making the playoffs as the first wild card seed. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I do think they got a little bit worse. I don't think getting rid of Kellen Moore was a good idea, but I think they're going to be a very solid team still at the end of the day. And then that leaves 1 spot for either the Giants or the Vikings, unless there's any clear and obvious team that I'm leaving out. And I'm going to go with the Giants. I think the Vikings won too many really close games last year. They lost to the Giants at home. They should have lost to them twice, really. If the Giants can stay healthy, they don't really have a good number 1 wide receiver. We'll see how Jalen Hyatt plays. We'll see how Sterling Shepard comes back. But if they can go and get a wide receiver at the deadline, if Daniel Jones can continue to progress in the Brian Daboll offense, I think that they could definitely creep their way into the playoffs just as they did last year. Manon, hit us with your NFC teams.
So very close to your list. I have Eagles 1. Then I'll probably go 49ers. And then I have the Vikings winning that division. I just think, can't really that division's not, it's either the Lions or the Vikings in my opinion, but I would probably go with the Vikings. So and then Saints for sure. So that's my top 4: Eagles, Niners, Vikings, Saints. And then I have Seahawks 5th, Cowboys 6th, and then Lions sneak in to the playoffs in the 7th seed.
Okay. Very solid list there, sir. I'm going to switch it up on you guys. I'm going to go 49ers, the number 1 overall seed. I believe the NFC East is one of the toughest divisions. I don't think the Eagles are going to kind of run through it like you guys think. Number 2 seed, I'm going to go Eagles. I still think that they're going to do good. I just, the 49ers have one of the easier divisions in football. Number 3 seed, I'm actually going to go with an NFC South team. I'm going to go with the Saints. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I think the NFC North is going to be an absolute dogfight. Justin Fields takes a huge lead. Jordan Love that has a really good defense there. They have really young guys. I think they're going to put up fight. I don't think they're necessarily going to have a lot of wins there. But I think the Lions come out on top of that division as the number 4 seed. Number 5 seed, I actually think is going to go to the Giants. I really like what they did last year. I like the offseason additions, both offensive and defensive additions. No coaching changes that I know of. And so the 6th seed, I'm going with the Vikings. No shocker there. They added to their offense. They added Brian Flores. I mean, yeah, we're Dolphins fans, but we know he's one of the best defensive coordinators in football. He did absolutely wonders in Miami with nobody's here besides Xavier Howard. So kind of excited to see what he can do with the Vikings defense. Kind of have like a love-hate relationship going on with him, where I hate him for what he cost the Dolphins in being a first-round pick, but I do like him as a coach. And then for my last seed, you guys are gonna be shocked. The Commanders.
I knew it.
I knew it.
That's gross.
That's not gross.
That's
not gross. That's not gross. Eric Bieniemy coming over, EB coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs. They have B-Rob in the backfield. They have 3 good receivers. They probably have, out of the trios in the NFL, I would say their trio is probably number 5. Because I mean, they got Terry McLaurin. Jahan Dotson looked good when he was out there last year, and Curtis Samuel. He was a first-round pick for a reason. He kind of showed up a little bit last year when Dotson and Terry were out. And that trio with B-Rob, who he was exploding at the end of last year. This defense we know is good. They're getting Chase Young back. Chase Young didn't play a single snap last year, from what I recall. So having him back in this already good defense, their special teams is good. It's going to be an absolute dogfight for them to get into the playoffs, but I think they squeak out into the playoffs. And I really like them to go in there and at least make it competitive. And I really do like Sam Howell. I didn't even mention him. We only saw him in one. We only saw him in one real game, but it was a game that the Cowboys needed to win, and he tore up a really good defense. So we'll see.
That's fair. That could be a dark horse team this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to go as far as you are, because I don't know what Sam Howell's going to be. I don't really believe in Ron Rivera, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. Okay, another thing that I didn't ask you guys to do, and I know, Manny, you got to go soon because you got your fantasy draft coming up. So just real quick.
Number 1 pick, by the way.
You have the number 1 pick?
Number 1 pick, that's awesome.
Justin Herbert?
You guys think I'm... Nah.
Justin Herbert?
It was supposed to be redraft. Sorry to get off topic. It was supposed to be redraft, and they were, keeper. And then they were like, last minute, let's change it to redraft.
Oh, yeah, I remember you were telling me about that.
I gotta go. I'm between Jettis and Chase, but I'm gonna go Jettis.
Yeah, Jettis, you gotta go with. Hey, and you keep apologizing for going off topic, brother. This is the most on topic we've stayed in a live stream ever. Like, I'm surprised we didn't start talking about Fortnite or making a trade at some point. Like,
Stephanie literally commented.
I saw her comment that. I got
comments.
I mean, I'll definitely be able to get on later, but I'm definitely going to need like a couple hours, so I'm not going to be able to get on right away. Another thing not planned, and because we don't have a lot of time, I'm very hungry. Just kind of quickly put this out there: who's going to be in the Super Bowl? Who's winning it? Donovan, go.
All right, Dolphins winning it over the Eagles.
Man, and who's in the Super Bowl? Who's winning it?
Bro, you make my head hurt, bro.
I'm only half serious.
I'm gonna go. Damn, I did not think about this. Since I'm such a homer, I'm going Chargers. Chargers over NFC. We're like Chargers over Niners. All Carolina Bowl.
I'm gonna do what these guys refuse. I'm gonna do what these guys refuse to do. I'm not going to pick my team, and I'm not going to pick something obvious. I'm going to have fun with it. Screw it. My show. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions.
That's disgusting.
That will be amazing. Obviously, that's not actually going to happen. But for real, I'm going to go with... Jeez, it's so hard to not just predict what happened last year. I'm going to go with the Bengals and the 49ers, the two teams that lost in the conference final last year, and I'm going to have the 49ers finally winning. Shout out to Dr. Disrespect. But with that, I think we're going to call it a wrap right there. It's been a wonderful episode, man. You've been an incredible first guest. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course, and we're going to continue to try to have guests like this. Unfortunately, like don't expect us to pop in with like the offensive coordinator of an opponent team. We're going to just pull in our friends because that's what we're going to do. And if you don't like it, deal with it. We play the Patriots. Maybe we can get Jay next week. Maybe. We haven't talked to him about it, but maybe
if he's not too busy, but the middle of the week might be good for him.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. So just week in, week out, we will attempt to have a fan from the opposing team come on and be able to talk about their team. We're all very excited for football finally to be here. So with that being said, we really appreciate y'all popping in today. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We're getting really close to 1,000, and I don't have to say it, but you guys know what 1,000 means. So let's please hit that subscribe button. Be a real one. Hit that like button, get involved in the comments. If you have missed any part of this live stream at any point, we'll be posting clips over the next few days up until the point of the game, which we finally see some real meaningful football. Miami Dolphins football is back. Los Angeles Chargers football is back for this young man right here. So again, with all that being said, we really appreciate y'all for popping in here today.